7:03, I will call the meeting to order. We could do the roll call, please.
Sure. Jeff Solon.
Here.
Sarah Stevens Morley.
Here.
Dennis Ryu.
Here.
Megan Rockwell.
Here.
Chuck Neff. Here. Sean Kimball. Rich Gussenberg. Greg Rosenblatt. Sean Kimball. Chris Daddy. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we will do the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. So now, public correspondence or comments. So in terms of written correspondence, I have not received any new external correspondence. And I see we have friends joining us. Do you have any public comment you'd like to make?
Yeah, I attended your last meeting. I'm Bill Cohen. I'm the president and owner of Steel Tech Building Products, your structural steel fabricator who is working in conjunction with a steel fabricator out of Canada to produce your steel. I came to the last meeting. I was concerned about the tariffs. I witnessed your signing of your contracts with ONG with the exclusion of the paragraph 37, which dealt with that issue, saying that there would be funds available to pay for a tariff which wasn't anticipated, not taken into account by any of your bidders, and it would put me at a negative project. So I'm here because I'm very concerned about it. I understand there's been meetings. I didn't attend them, but there's been discussions about it. But I've gone from these folks right here up to Jason Travelstead, and Jason Travelstead has said, I cannot guarantee you payment. And I understand that the town has a positive feeling about paying that, but you're under the guidance of your attorney, and we all rely on our attorneys for advice. But I'm just telling you here, I'm about to deliver $3 million worth of steel over the next 4 months, starting in less than 30 days from now, and I need some assistance, and I need somebody to say that they're going to take care of me, and I'm here for that. So thank you very much for listening, and
Thank you for joining
if you don't
us.
mind, I'll just sit in, and thank you very much.
Any other public comment? We only have one other guest today.
She's busy.
Yeah, she's very busy. So next we have our approval of meeting minutes from February 27th, our last meeting. Does anyone have any? Yeah, motion first, yeah.
Move that we approve the minutes.
Thank you, Jeff. Any discussion? Any seconding? Sorry, seconding? Or discussion?
Already heard my comments.
Oh, okay, that's
Yeah.
it.
What was it? Dennis was one.
With one end.
Any discussion? No? Okay. Do we have a second?
Yeah.
Sorry, thank you, thank you. All right, then we will vote. All those in favor? Oh, yeah, me too. 4. All those opposed? Abstaining?
Oh, is it
One.
one?
Okay. So now we move on to the reporting. We have our first working group, the change order working group. Do you have anything to report about, Chuck and Dennis?
No.
No change order.
All is well.
Fantastic. Our second reporting group, materials and finishes working group, Sarah and Megan. We don't have anything to report either. Not yet. Great. So then we can move into the redistricting proposal, which would be from Vin and Jeff.
We can pass these
Thank
that way,
you.
and maybe these that way.
I'll provide a summary. I know Rich Gussenberg did email the group the information that we
Thank you so
put
much.
together. So the request this evening is to
Oh yeah, it's the like environmental staple.
That's awesome.
Hey,
Sorry,
I'm
Nick.
trying.
Well,
We
you
love
can't
it.
start explaining this until
Yeah,
you
it's-
explain
Yeah.
this.
So our copy machine has a function that you could do a staple
Accidentally took
or a paperless staple. So the machine does this for us very nicely.
That's like Shark Tank.
So no steel, because there's a tariff on steel. Sorry, it was just there.
Oh, right there. There's a whole,
Yeah, so that's just a function that we can use. So
Thanks.
the two documents I handed out, I'm not gonna go through the proposal from MP Planning because I'll explain what we're doing, but
It's over there.
at this time, we have to do our updated enrollment study, and we also need a redistricting study done. And the reason for the enrollment study, primarily, there's two functions. One, in order to do a redistricting study, we have to know what the enrollment is gonna be. The last enrollment study we did was in 2022. So it's 2 years old. We can't base redistricting on that. Also, and an important thing for the school building committee is we want to make sure that the enrollment isn't exceeding the projections we used and submitted to the state. And so if you look at the memo with the graph on it, which is the email summary, what that chart shows on the bottom is, you see there's 3 lines. The blue line was the enrollment projection completed by Mike Zuba of SLAM that showed the potential low enrollment. The green line up at the top shows the potential high enrollment, and the purple line is our actual enrollment projected through 2025-26. So you could see that the projected actual enrollment in purple was lagging up until this school year, and then based on the most recent enrollment update we received as of March, you'll see that now we're starting to hit the high enrollment projection. The significance of the high enrollment projection is that is what we submitted to the state. So we're not exceeding the high enrollment projection. As of right now, we're hitting it. What we do know happened since 2022, we did have additional developments that were approved in town, not the major ones, like the new North End development, all those housing, townhouses and apartments, that was built into the enrollment projections. But there were additional smaller housing developments that have been approved since then, and there might be more on the book. So part of what would happen with this enrollment study would be to look at all the new development in town and make further projections based on birth rates and housing turnover. That's a critical part of what would happen in the study. So those are the reasons that we would need this study. The recommendation that we have tonight is to approve the proposal from MP Planning, and I'll give you a little bit of background. MP Planning, the lead owner of that company is Mike Zuba. Mike Zuba is well established as an enrollment and redistricting specialist here in the state of Connecticut. Prior to his own firm, he was working for SLAM, where they did the 2022 enrollment study, and prior to that, he was working for my Lawn and McBroom SLR, doing the enrollment studies. And I will point out that when he was with SLR, the School Modernization Committee, which included some of you, including Chuck, we did an RFP for an enrollment study, and Mike Zuba was selected at SLR. So we've got this history of Mike Zuba doing our enrollment studies. He knows the town well physically, he knows the streets and the developments, but he also knows the town planner and town officials because he's been in town for so many years. We did seek an alternate proposal from Peter Prouda, who was also well established doing enrollment studies in the state. He's willing to do the enrollment study, but he doesn't do redistricting studies. And I put a quote from his email in here. He doesn't do redistricting work because he doesn't need the aggravation, quote unquote, because obviously, you know, redistricting is a sensitive topic when you go to a community and a school community and you say, hey, we're gonna move the line, you know, from this street to that street, and so now your children will be displaced. So I understand what he's talking about, and we'll probably soon be experiencing that aggravation, but the cost proposal in that study is $35,235, and it does include a number of important things. First, it includes the enrollment study. It will include 3 different scenarios of redistricting, so that we will provide choices, you know, to the school building committee, the community, Board of Ed, and the town council as well. If we wanted to go to a 4th scenario, that cost would be $38,925. After speaking to Mike, he doesn't think it's, you know, necessary unless there's a compelling reason that we have so many scenarios that we can add that 4th scenario. As part of the work, he will make presentations. There'll be an extensive document that's put together. Obviously, we would share that, you know, with all the parties and put it out on a website for the community. But the other thing that he's going to be providing is a web-based tool that anybody can use, including, you know, residents and parents, where they would enter their address and they could see where they would be redistricted under each of those scenarios. So it's something more interactive. We didn't have that in the prior studies because one of the questions we asked is, you know, the cost seems higher than the prior studies we've done, and he explained that, you know, the amount of work that will go into these redistricting scenarios is going to be very detailed. The one that he did in you know, prior years in 2022 was really more of a high level. But this is the real, you know, redistricting for the purpose of actually executing. So there's more work that goes into each of those scenarios. And I believe that's really the long and short of the project schedule. You know, from beginning to end, it'll take 8 months till we get the final redistricting scenarios. The enrollment study comes first, so you know, we'll have a sense pretty early on, about 3 months, as to whether or not we're going to exceed these high watermark projections. And you know, the only other thing I'll add, and it's not exactly related to this, if the projections are, you know, a little bit above where they were initially projected, doesn't necessarily mean that we'll have to add to the new buildings, which would be a hard thing to do at this point in time. We do have some excess capacity at Highland Elementary, you know, so if we, the high enrollment projection after we redistrict, and about, you know, 5 years out, Highland will be a little above 700, like 725, I think. So right now it's at 925. We probably could go up to 800 and still be comfortable. So that's kind of just to give you a little bit of a sense of ease about these enrollment projections, you know, starting to ratchet up. That's my request of the committee, so I'll be glad to answer any questions. I don't know, Jeff.
Yeah, the only thing
anything else?
I would ask, you know, with the architects, I know that the buildings were designed to be able to accommodate expansion. Obviously, if that were necessary, the sooner the better, I would think. The process to get the enrollment will probably take a little bit of time, but I would think it would be before we start wrapping the building, that we would at least have the enrollment done. So, you know, given the fact that we are so close, within a snip, like 4 kids literally, of the peak of what was projected several years ago, I think it would behoove us to explore that in the event that, God forbid, we do have to make an adjustment. This is not reimbursable, by the way. It's
That was my,
just-
that was
just
my
a
first
cost.
question.
Yeah.
It's, it's just it's like a soft cost, it's not baked in.
It just comes to the
Bless you.
committee. Do we have to RFP?
No, because it's not reimbursable. And, the town does allow us to hire professionals without an RFP.
If it's not reimbursable and the Board of Ed and the town council are deciding on the redistricting, why is the building committee paying for it?
My argument would be this directly relates to the construction of the building.
But does the state require it? Do we have to do it for the state, for
The
the
state,
projection?
the state requires it in advance of submission of the proposal, because that you have to, quote, right size the building through the process. They won't let you, they'll only let you build within a certain tolerance of that peak enrollment over the 10-year enrollment study. And I think our concern is, given we're so close to that peak already, the last thing we want to do is build a building, open it, realize we're undersized, and think that we need to now reopen the building and add more spaces.
So, but the state is only reimbursing us for the current enrollment. So if
The
we
state is
decided-
reimbursing us on the construction. If
Right.
we had to build more square footage, my belief is that we would be reimbursed on that based on the study. And please, Jeff and Rich, anybody correct me if I'm wrong.
So like we would resubmit this new study and say because of this new study information, we require more room, and so we want.
How much experience have you had with that, if any?
None?
No.
I mean, that'd be my question too, is like,
Can it
we essentially have to go back on every bid that we have from, like, we need to get a bid from the architect to design that extra spacing.
Well, that's been
planned for.
designed, right? I mean.
So it wouldn't cost us anything if we added these extra rooms, is that what we're saying?
No, I think the plan layout, we identified possible areas for additions. We didn't design.
Yeah, so we'd have that, then we'd have, you have everything extra to actually build it, so it would be its own
You'd likely,
thing.
if that was the result of this study, then you'd likely have to go have a conversation with the state, because it's either a modification to your original application or it's a supplemental grant application to support it. So I think there's a few different hurdles if that was to be the path. You wouldn't just
It
go ahead
happened
and
at
do it.
South Windsor.
It definitely happened, yeah.
Yeah.
Where midstream, they had to, pull the trigger, so to speak, and add to the buildings while they were under construction, because their enrollment growth was so rapid.
Well, right now, forget about where the number is. Do we owe the state an enrollment projection in order to
No,
continue?
You've done that already.
Yeah,
we do not.
okay, so the need for the enrollment projection though is like outside of the committee, right? Because we're within our number, it's close.
I think that's what I'm struggling with too, is
Yeah.
that we have this project at a very set budget, and so if we had to expand, we'd actually have to have a second project with a second budget. Because I don't think we have enough money in this budget to build more rooms. Right? We're like,
But I think
close.
you're just trying to identify like
I don't
if
know.
that's actually the case, right? But
Yeah,
that-
I don't know if we are or, yeah, I don't know that we're that close either, that, the bids have been pretty favorable, to this point, and if we're going to pivot, I would think we would wanna do that sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
And,
yep.
so, to just defer, I'd hate to do that. I'm also very sensitive to the fiscal situation in the town as a whole, where, you know, we're looking at cutting millions of dollars out of the upcoming budget for a variety of reasons, which I'm happy to enumerate, but the resources aren't really there either, too, and we're trying to save everything we can to potentially roll over into a budget next year from our operating budget this year.
So I mean, I think what is best, in my opinion, what is best for the town and what is best for the schools would be to do this enrollment study so that we know what we're getting into.
I mean,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna just add that we knew that we were going to have to do another enrollment and redistricting study before the projects were completed, because again, you won't wanna rely on a 2022 redistricting plan when you don't know where those children in town are actually going.
Especially with the
to
development
be.
that we have.
Yeah.
So that's why it's being presented back to the building committee for, you know, payment, frankly.
What's,
Is there-
what's the elevator speech on scenario 6? Task number 4.
That what, you know, scenario 6 is what we're actually building. That was from the original school modernization report.
So,
Yeah, so that, we had that on our website. There's a map of, a proposed map of redistricting from 2022. However, we felt it was not, maybe even irresponsible to retain that map on the website, because with the amount of development that's occurred, I didn't want people thinking that is our redistricting zone, when it was a draft from 2 years ago, prior to a lot of development. So there is a, you know, what Ben was saying, there is kind of a baseline there when we're working with Mike, because we did have stuff done before with SLR, but, you know, it's gonna need some adjustment there. You know, definitely thinking about the redistricting, but I know that's gonna happen, but I'm more concerned in this context about the enrollment. And what are we looking at with respect to enrollment that might influence building size and construction?
Did Mike give an anticipated duration for the enrollment study? Because the projections are separate from the redistricting.
Right, and
This is 8 months.
that would be quicker,
Well,
much
8 months
quicker.
is for both, right?
Yeah, but that will be definitely quicker per the conversation Ben had with him. Ben, if you wanna,
Yeah, no, that was
Chime in
a
on that.
conversation. So
much faster for the enrollment.
first, the enrollment study gets done first, and then the
Right.
redistricting scenarios come out, once you know where the enrollment's gonna be. And it is a sort of a block by block, you know, I mean, street by street enrollment that has to be projected. So that has to be firmed up first. So we'll get that information first.
I'm just thinking about the cost benefit analysis on a $166 million project. If $35,000 is gonna influence it, you know, dramatically, potentially based on the enrollment study, you know, the cost of $35,000 to rule out, or unfortunately if we had to pivot, is gonna be minimal compared to, you know, the cost of not initiating it more immediately, which I don't know that I could do with the budget right now.
My understanding of the bigger picture of the schools was that there was a separate committee being formed to explore whatever the next step was of school modernization in the town,
Sure.
which or not the redistricting necessarily, but the enrollment projection would be part of that.
Yeah, that's not in the immediate future, unfortunately. We had conversations about that. The town council actually, at the capital budget meeting last year, Chuck was urging us to kind of pursue that route. That's on hold with the current budget situation. You know, the next 2 years, the biggest gap that we have in the budget right now is really, like I said, a confluence of a few things, but the North End development, you know, as we all see, has been very successful, very sprawling, and there's, you know, plenty of action going on down there. It's generated a lot of potential, not potential, but a deferred grand list growth, because all that grand list growth that we've experienced is going back into paying the developer for the municipal site improvements. So all that grand list growth from this year is going back to them, which has netted us like 0 grand list growth, basically. In addition, the state has cut $4 million in state aid to Cheshire in this current budget year. We also have $1.5 million from ARPA money that was used to fuel this year's budget that has expired now, and there's a $1.5 million fiscal cliff, which is generally not that bad if that's all that you're facing, but compounding with those other 2 items, it's much more significant. So, you know, we're in a holding pattern on any future development at the moment. I'm sure at some point it'll pick back up, maybe when, not this upcoming year, not the subsequent year, but the 3rd year is when all that grand list growth will really come back onto our books, when there'll be a significant influx of money at that point.
Given that there's budget constraints for anything new, then to go back and ask for several $1 million to build the extra portion of these schools, that would have to be something I would have to go back out for referendum vote.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, but I do know, you know, I'd rather know, like, the sooner I can know that we might have a problem on our hands, the better I think we will be. And, you know, I think that would also influence any sort of redistricting perhaps that might occur, or you know, any sort of construction that might occur. And I'm not panicked. This is right on the projection that we were building off of. But I think it's smart to be paying attention to it and be concerned, or at least want to gather more information. Whether or not this group pays for it, I mean, we're asking for that. We think it's related to the school construction, but you know, I'm one vote. But Sean did ask me to vote 4 times for him favor.
If he was here.
If he was
2
here.
votes.
He asked for 4. I don't do his math.
It's town manager math.
So I mean, the proposal is to do both the enrollment and the redistricting, right? Did he break out the cost of them?
No.
So I mean, if we had to do a redistricting, we'd have to go back and do a new proposal from somebody.
Right.
If we did do the enrollment.
Yeah. Well, the enrollment is really a contingent, or the redistricting is really contingent on the enrollment study. And as Vin was saying, it's really hard to find anybody to do that. And this was a modified, frequent flyer, I guess, discount for us, because he had already done that work too on the SLR plan. So, and from a price point, I'm afraid this is the best we're gonna do.
One last question. Rich, this would come out of our contingency then? Yeah.
Yes. You know, you have an owner's contingency, and if you take a look at the budget we also documented what the bid savings is for both projects. So while the North End has a significant bid savings compared to the Norton project, Norton still also has a bid savings. And of course, the contingency amounts are pretty robust going into the construction to begin with, so. And Jeff, I would assume that this proposal would be split between the two, so not one single project would take the whole hit.
Yeah, I would think that would be up to the group, you know, but the other element that is kind of favorable, although I can't commit to it as we sit here at this moment, the YMCA is, you know, in a position where they're looking to purchase. The purchase has been accepted by the church. They're going to purchase the church across the street from Norton, which may resolve a parking matter that could have been pretty expensive. So that's a favorable. Like I said, I can't guarantee for them that, oh yeah, they're just going to park there. But I feel pretty good about it. And even if they charge us, it's going to be significantly less than some of the costs that we were looking at previously.
So,
I will make the motion
okay.
to accept the proposal for MP Planning Group of $35,325 for the redistricting and enrollments.
Chuck, do you want to specify whether that would be split across both buildings or one building or?
Split?
Yeah, I was actually for the
North end?
tighter on North.
Yeah,
That's
good
what I was
point.
thinking, but
Yeah, that's a
I don't know
very-
that has to, I think once we approve it, we can.
It's not
Pay for it.
reimbursable anyway.
Oh, yeah, so-
That's about it.
Would anyone, so you're not gonna add a, okay.
I'll
Would anyone like,
contribute to it right
would anyone like to second that motion?
I'll second it.
Excellent. Any discussion? Right, then we will vote.
So,
Oh, wait, got discussion, I apologize. Got a little too excited to chair.
so the public schools needs to do this.
I'm sorry?
Public schools
Yeah.
needs to do this.
No. I mean, I guess, yeah, for redistricting's sake, yeah, I would argue that.
And you're coming to us because we have the money.
I'm coming to you because I think the school construction could benefit from it as well. Depending on, you know, where this thing shakes out.
And my 2 cents on this, I think this is the right thing to do for the town and for the public schools. I don't love that it's our budget, but I think it has to be some budget, and I think this would be a really worthwhile partnership to go into with the public schools.
And to
So you did have discussion.
to address that point though, even if we had all the money in the world on the public school side or the town side, I would still be here, given how close we are to the peak enrollment.
Yeah.
Having the conversation.
Any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor? And opposed? Wait, were you for?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was unanimous.
That's thinking.
4.5.
4.5.
4.5.
Appreciate it, guys.
All right, let's get redistricted.
Thank you.
We'll start lighting candles so that
Yeah.
we don't have to.
Say the novena tomorrow, right? Yeah.
Owner's rep.
Okay, so that's a good segue into the budget. And so you have a handout that's got both the budgets and as well as how we're tracking the owner's contingency if you flip to the backside of each budget. So I think it was in the January meeting, or maybe it was December, we were talking about the GMP and how it was gonna look on the budget. And we understood that to mean that we weren't gonna keep anything left in that line item. We were gonna encumber the value of the GMP, and we were gonna drop everything below that to the owner's contingency, which in fact we did. We could have just combined it into the one line item that said owner's contingency, but we wanted to show the building committee what in fact the bid savings was. If you want to keep it there, we can certainly keep that line item. If you want to consolidate that into just the owner's contingency, we can also do that. There was also a comment by one of the committee members that we wanted to take a look at Tectons, and I think there was some unencumbered amounts in that budget. So we adjusted that and we dropped that also to the owner's contingency. I think that was just on North. I think on Norton we actually had to add, so it was actually at the contract value for Tecton. So that's where we are on both projects. The new North End or Barton Elementary School, you can see the committed encumbered amount is now $74,282,000 of the original budget amount of $89,942,000,000, and that's a percentage of 83%, meaning we have now committed 83% of the budget to the project, and all of that will get spent because we are only encumbering the amount that is, or we're only putting in the budget the amount that's encumbered. So there's everything else drops to the owner's contingency. On the Norton project, we have now encumbered $68 million, roughly $500,000 of $76 million, roughly $700,000, and that is 89% of the total budget. So a little bit tighter, but still about where we thought it would be once we started encumbering the construction values. So that's where things stand right now. We do have a pretty robust owner's contingency. We also have previously moved dollars into FF&E and technology on the North End project only because of where we stood with that owner's contingency. We didn't do that so much on the Norton project because that obviously is tighter. So we will address that when we start identifying what is in the scope for furniture and technology. Questions?
Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to invoice approvals.
Yes, and we do have quite a few.
Okay. Why don't we start with the new Norton Elementary School? Do I have a motion to approve invoice 23651 for Eagle Environmental in the amount of $255?
So moved.
Thank you. Any second? Thank you. All those in favor? It's unanimous? Okay. Approval for architectural services for Tecton Architects in the amount of $39,890.
So moved.
Thank you, Dennis.
Second.
Jeff? All those in favor? Okay. That was unanimous. A second, 48056 for architectural services for Tecton Architects in the amount of $40,913.
So moved.
We got a first motion. Second?
Also,
Thank you, Chuck. All those in favor?
I got a question.
Oh, wait, sorry. Discussion.
Does it matter that it's like an invoice for the future from 31st that we're approving it now?
Is it
The
the
invoice date's
future?
the 31st
Of March. It should. It shouldn't. Well, I guess technically it should, Chuck. But I will tell you that that Tecton has, in our opinion, underbilled the construction administration. So we're comfortable with it because I think we calculated it at what is it? You've got it at 11%, I think.
Yeah.
And we found it to be a little bit higher, so. And our calculation is based on, that's for 3 months worth of work. It's an 18-month construction, so do the math, and it works out to be, I think, 12%. So, yeah, so they've actually come in lower.
Never heard of an architect underbilling.
We were comfortable with approving that, so.
We thought you'd like it.
Yes.
That one
It's
was
all for
for
Dennis.
you, Dennis.
They were interested.
The reality is that we had a fairly protracted bid period where for those months, we were catching up on our bid period invoicing and purposely starting the CA portion a little bit later. We had an overlap where we're actually doing construction administration activities and bidding activities. So our invoices reflected the bid phase, whereas now, moving forward, we're 100% in the construction administration phase.
We were comfortable with it.
Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Okay, moving on to invoice number 6 for construction manager services from O&G in the amount of $62,351.66. Thank you, Dennis. Second? Thanks, Jeff. All those in favor? Oh, wait, discussion? Sorry. All those in favor?
Hang on, is it out of order from what's in here?
Oh, I thought.
Shouldn't be. Is there something
No, it's
that's
right after Tecton. Yeah,
O&G.
Oh, it's the AIA, I got you. I'm sorry.
Any discussion?
No,
All those in favor? Okay, that is unanimous. Okay. Second invoice, number 17 for pre-construction services from O&G in the amount of $69,866.75.
So moved.
Dennis? A second? Any discussion?
Yeah, actually, I have a question. Is grave drafting all done now? So that information has been conveyed to the steel manufacturer?
They talk to each other, right? Randall's dealing directly with the steel
Okay.
company.
Yes.
You're billing 100% on pre-con.
Right.
Yeah. 100% that they're billing on pre-con.
Right.
The remaining month, the extended months are actually going to.
Oh, I was talking about rent.
No, understood,
Yeah.
yeah. There won't be any more pre-con invoices, what I would say.
Yeah.
Any other questions, discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Moving right along, invoice number 36016,184 for owner representative services from Arcadis in the amount of $11,681.85.
So moved.
Dennis? Anyone would like to second? Thank you, Chuck. Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. All right, next up, invoice number 0053216 for commissioning services from Van Zelm Engineers in the amount of $2,321. Jeff would move. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Jeff. Any discussion? All those in favor? All right, unanimous. And the last one for New Norton, invoice number 7 for construction manager services from O&G, $739,752.85.
So moved.
Thank you, Dennis.
Second.
Thank you, Jeff. Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Okay, we got through the New Norton.
Could I make a suggestion?
Yes.
We're not getting into real money with you guys. Can you do your report before we approve the invoices?
Oh,
Yeah, sure.
You just play with the agenda
yeah.
perhaps in future meetings.
Yeah, we can move that there. I will communicate that to Rich. I'm gonna write myself a better note than just an arrow,
Quick arrow.
so we know what invoice is for. Oh, now I will definitely share that with Rich. Well remembered. We'll move on to the new North End Elementary School invoices, starting with invoice 48012 for architectural services from Tecton Architects in the amount of $39,084.
So,
Thank you, Dennis. Second? Thank you, Jeff. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Unanimous. Invoice 48055 for architectural services from Tecton Architects. This is again one for 331. And that's in the amount of $47,554.
So, oh, go ahead, Dennis.
no, go ahead, I'll second.
Okay, Jeff and Dennis, thank you both. Any discussion? All those in favor? All right, unanimous. Invoice number 6 for construction manager services from O&G in the amount of $100,847.84.
So,
Thank you, Dennis.
Second.
Thank you, Jeff. Any discussion? Oh, we got a question.
how come this one doesn't show up on like the second page of the, should be on the document G703?
Are you missing?
Just retained production, right?
There's nothing, no work completed this
Second
period.
page. Right, it's just a retained reduction jump.
Oh,
For phase one.
Oh,
oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
any other discussion? Okay. All those in favor? That's unanimous. Okay, so this is invoice number 17 for pre-construction services from O&G in the amount of $60,057.
Moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, unanimous. Invoice 36016-194 for owner representative services for Marquingus in the amount of $8,619.11.
So moved.
Thank you, Dennis.
Second.
Thank you, Jeff. Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. And, okay, 0053217 for commissioning services from Van Zelm Engineers in the amount of $957.60. Thank you, Dennis.
Second.
Thank you, Jeff. Any discussion? All those in favor? That's unanimous. And last but certainly not least, invoice number 7 for construction manager services from O&G in the amount of $1,494,969.73. It's the longest number I've had to read out loud.
So moved.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Dennis. Any discussion? All those in favor? All right.
Thank you.
Wow, we spent almost $3 million.
Yeah, let's pay some bills. Woo. Okay, and now actions or recommendations on change orders, if any?
We don't have any change orders to report.
I had a feeling that might be true. Okay, any other owners rep business?
Not at this time.
Excellent, thank you. That moves us to architects. The construction administration summaries.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. So in your packet tonight are 2 field reports. So we're conducting basically a construction administration summary bi-weekly. So since we haven't met in about a month, this update includes 2 of the reports, each for Barnum Elementary School and Norton School. So I'll just go over the highlights. In your CA summary, we identify the amount of construction RFIs, submittals, PCOs, change orders, the amount of meetings that we've had. So high-level summary for Barnum. We've received 16 new submittals in the last month for a total of 38. 54 new RFIs, 54 new submittals for a total of 270. You do have, or you did approve payment applications 6 and 7. No PCOs to discuss tonight. For both schools, we've conducted about 10 meetings per school. That includes weekly OAC meetings, or bi-weekly OAC meetings, weekly BIM coordination meetings. We did attend the North End tiling rebid opening, which I'm sure Laurel will provide an update on for tonight's update. A number of site visits, we're including our consultant site visits and our site visit field reports in the CA summaries. Some bulletins that we have issued, ASI for brick detailing, that was just simply a clarification of some dimensional items. One proposal request for bleacher seats, and I'll just quickly explain that. The specification of the retractable bleachers indicated wood seating. All of the stuff that we had provided in terms of graphics, as well as the district preferences to have plastic seats. We expect this to be either a zero-sum change or a modest credit based on the feedback that we've gotten from the representative. But nonetheless, because we made the modification in submittal review, what we're doing is we're issuing directives as a result of things that get modestly modified during our submittal review. For Norton, we had received 19 new RFIs for a total of 34, 81 new submittals for a total of 127. So what this is indicating is we're really at the front end of receiving a bulk of the submittals for the projects. We're getting multiple submittals a day, working with ONG to prioritize the submittals as they come in so we know which ones are the high priority. Reference the applications for payment, no new PCOs to review tonight. Same amount of meetings related to what the team has been participating in. A few more bulletins here. 3 ASIs that were just clarifications of RFIs requesting dimensions. The 2 proposal requests we anticipate credits for. One is the bleacher seats that I just referenced. Another is the elimination of the cold water line that was a leftover from a previous location that was the result of an RFI response. The other 2 items that are not in this report but an overall project summary I can report, we attended or held a presentation with the Norton 5th and 6th grade yesterday to review the geothermal details and design strategies as part of their earth science component. They were very well behaved. I think they were more happy to be out of their classrooms and into the cafeteria.
Don't sell yourself short, dude. I mean, seriously. We don't keep kids in a pen during the day, contrary to Justin's characterization. But I think the kids were genuinely really interested in the science of it, but just what their new school would be and how that would operate. I mean, they did a great job trying to articulate, and really visualizing how that system works. As I said to Justin, it's the quietest I've ever heard a cafeteria because the kids were really interested in it, and the PowerPoint was really cool. And when he asked, who wants to see what it's going to look like, there are a lot of interested folks and some really good, thoughtful questions from 5th and 6th grade kids. So it's exciting. We want to replicate it with the other buildings. And hopefully there's a lot of interest in kids getting out to the sites and actually seeing this when it's feasible and the weather's a little bit warmer. So really cool. We really appreciate it.
No, it was, as I mentioned in the email response, the pleasure was all ours, it's when we're giving presentations to you guys or, the P and Z commissions, or holding public forums, there are a lot more, they're a little bit more formal. And to see the excitement of the kids and the questions that they were asking, and hopefully converting a few of them into the field, and generating that excitement is really what it's all worthwhile. So we certainly appreciated it. The only other thing that I would mention is work that's in front of us, is starting the FF&E design. The goal is to hold our focus group meetings with the district prior to summer break, so that we can then get our design drawings done, get our cost estimates over the summer, and regroup with the district once we get those cost estimates back at the start of September. So all of that shapes up for a early fall review by the committee, and the BOE, and then OGA approval. So ideally, we would be out in procurement and for any bid items by the end of this year. We just went through a very similar process for Madison, a new elementary school that's opening this August, where we went through the approvals after the holidays, and we're bidding mid-January to mid-February. We have all of our equipment scheduled for delivery. There are no long lead items. So I think doing this work, trying to get all of the design work done prior to the summer break is going to put us in a good position to get everything here for the following year. So we'll provide more updates and details as we get a little bit further into the process. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Just curiosity more than anything else. First page, what's the difference between the bi-weekly OAC North End and the bi-weekly OAC Cheshire Schools?
So one is a project-specific meeting, which is held at each job site. The bi-weekly OAC meeting is one that we, Arcadis, O&G, and Tecton have held since the beginning of the project, just to make sure that we're communicating in our communications to the NGSBC. And it's kind of more of an administrative meeting to make sure that we're, all three parties are, talking to one another, making sure that we're being clear and consistent. So those typically are on Monday afternoons, bi-weekly, and the project-specific meetings are Wednesday mornings.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, there's no other discussion on that. We move on to CM at Risk, schedule updates.
So we are moving forward in both projects very well. Both projects are on schedule or ahead of schedule. We have the majority of the concrete foundations and footings in at the Norton project. They are actually ahead of schedule on the installation of the concrete footing foundations. They have steel scheduled to arrive on site, as I said previously, and I think Bill had indicated in mid to late April 21st, I believe, is the date for the steel to arrive. Crane is going to be set up on the Thursday before Good Friday, so I think that's the 17th, if I'm not mistaken. So we're moving forward well on that project. Underground is ongoing at that project, as well as inside the building, as well as the main storm and exterior sanitary lines and structures going in at the Norton building. At North End, they aren't quite as far along on the steel, but they are quite a lot farther along on the site work. They have 83% of the geothermal wells installed, looking to have 100% of those installed by the end of next week. So they are moving very well on that. Concrete footings and foundations are a little bit ahead of schedule, not quite as ahead of schedule as the Norton project, but we are a little bit ahead of schedule on that. Steel is on schedule for the original bid schedule to start erection at Norton on May 21st. So about a month, or no, sorry, May 14th. So about 3 weeks difference there. That is just, you know, reflective of the amount of site work that we have to do at the North End project versus, you know, smaller site at North End. Norton will have much more site work going on this summer with all of the main electrical and water coming off of the North Brooksville up the main drive. So their focus is getting the building a little bit ahead of schedule so they can fall back to that in the summertime. Both projects, like I said, are moving along very well. Both our sites are very well organized. If anybody's had a chance to go on there, my teams have been, you know, very diligent about that and keeping that going. I know that at Norton this week we had a fire drill, which also gave the opportunity. I believe we opened up a couple of the gates so that the students could see a direct view into the construction site. We will continue, and as Jeff said, as we get into warmer weather, we will definitely work with the school. And I think Brian and Colt have been in contact with the principal about the ONG Builds program, which will be a very nice program to get the students out to the site and onto and see the, you know, construction as it's safe, and we can get them on there.
So cool.
Yeah, so we're very much looking forward to that. As Justin said, it was very exciting for him to present to the students. You know, we feel the same way. This ONG Builds gives us an opportunity to really interact with the students and you know, hopefully pull some of them into our field. We'd love to get some of them in that direction. We, you know, look forward to that. And one thing that I would like to and apologize for and also, you know, encouragingly say is that next month we will have a formal report for you all to see that'll include all of our pictures. As Mark was saying, a little bit of our, you know, speaking or communicating between our systems is, you know, being worked out. It got finalized today, but not in time to get a formal report out to this committee. But we will have a formal report going forward that you will receive ahead of this meeting going forward. So with that, any questions I'm happy to take.
Any questions? Discussion? Okay. Thank you. So that brings us to bid approvals.
Yay.
If any.
Yay. Just one page.
Oh, I wanted the
Last
huge
one.
binder.
No, we're all done with that. All that paperwork's all done with that. Everybody got one?
Yeah.
All right, so this is the rebid of the tiling. You'll see that we had 3 bids. Originally, our first go around with the bidding, we had 4 bids. The one that did not bid us the second time was R&B Ceramic Tile and Floor Covering. They were very high at the first bid, and he had told me he would have been in that neighborhood anyhow, so it was like no reason to have him put the effort in. You'll see that it went up slightly, about the rebid went up about 100,000 more than the first time, but at least this number is whole. And 648,488 is Spectrum Floors, their Cheshire bidder, the Cheshire contractor. So we were able to hire a local contractor. And the second bid, had we just outright rejected the low bidder because they were missing scope and went to the second bidder, was 703,000. So all in all, you really save $50,000, which is more than enough to cover the enrollment.
The way you think, Laurel.
Should have been first. So anyhow, so we are recommending we've conducted our scope review meeting. This is where we clarified some tiling, scope of work, and we're recommending lowest qualified bidder, Spectrum Floors, and there's the amount.
I'll make a motion to approve Spectrum bidders as the tile bid.
Spectrum Floors.
Oh, it's the floor, excuse me.
Second.
Any discussion?
Do you have to give like the amount?
I was just my discussion question is, do we need to put the amount in the motion?
Yeah, you have been.
Okay.
You had been before.
So this is a
Bid package 2.19.
Amend the motion to approve
it's this one.
Spectrum Floors Incorporated for,
It's for North End.
okay, so I guess I'll use the language on the front. Make a motion to direct ONG Industries to enter into a contract with Spectrum Floors Inc. for bid 2.09T tiling for contract amount of $648,488 for the new North End Elementary School Phase 2 project.
And a second on that amended motion. Any discussion now? All those in favor? It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is it a problem that Sean isn't here to sign it?
I'll figure out who I could leave this
We
with.
find. Okay.
I don't know if anybody's authority.
Okay, so that brings us to, the executive session of, our meeting. So this is a motion that upon 2/3 vote, our committee will convene an executive session for the purpose of discussing contract language as part of the guaranteed minimum price agreement for both the North End and Norton schools to include the following individuals: all members of the Next Generation School Building Committee, Jeffrey D'Onofrio, Cheshire Town Attorney, Vincent Massiana, Cheshire School COO, Richard Sitnick from Arcadis, and Andrew Martelli, Assistant Town Manager.
He's not here.
But if he was here,
He was invited.
yes, invited. So that is the language. Would anyone like to move on that language?
So moved.
And do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Well, it's really the maximum price, not the minimum.
The guaranteed maximum price agreement, thank you. Goodness gracious. Guaranteed maximum price agreement
Unless
is
you
what
want it to
we're,
be the minimum.
I mean, that is a different discussion. Okay, any discussion? All those in favor? All right, that is more than 2/3, so
Okay, bye.
we will begin executive session shortly.
You voted